everyone, and welcome to episode 6, the finale of Level Up Watches The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is a spin-off podcast of the Level Up and Friends podcast, where those of us from the video game and comic book store Level Up Entertainment in Mays Landing and soon-to-be Summers Point, New Jersey, gather with some friends and discuss the latest in pop culture entertainment. And we are covering the end of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That is the title at the beginning of the episode, maybe not the end, but I am joined by Kendall. Welcome back.
Hello.
And I'm joined by the only other person who was in the running to be the U.S. agent before that title was stripped from him. Marvelous Mike, where are you? Oh!
Oh, sorry. I don't know why I'm reading this, since I seem to know all there is on the Power Broker.
Wow. So for those of you listening at home without the video version, Marvelous Mike is holding up a book, very voluminous book, titled The Power Broker.
The 1,100-page history of Robert Moses, but I thought fitting for our purpose nonetheless.
Do I see tabs there? Is that
no?
Pages dog-eared?
This is the first
highlights?
time I cracked it open in the 6 years that I had it.
All right. The Power Broker. Well, gentlemen, we are at the end of this 6-part journey. Before we dive into, sort of our scene-by-scene breakdown, just overall, thoughts. Did they stick the landing? I saw some people saying they hope that it didn't pull a WandaVision, which I guess some people were upset with the WandaVision ending. So just right off the bat, do you guys think that overall they stuck the landing?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it ended great. I like the ending better than I liked WandaVision's ending, for sure. Not that I hated or even disliked WandaVision's ending. But yeah, I was very satisfied with the last episode.
Nice.
I enjoyed it as well. I thought the ending scenes were very good. They wrapped it up nicely. I have some disagreement with stuff in the middle, but I'm sure we'll get to it as we do our scene by scene recap. Okay. Some carrot cake while the show's going on.
Very nice. I don't know if does that thematically tie into the episode anywhere at all, or?
No, I don't think so. Just enjoy it.
Well, your background display this week, I thought it would be appropriate to show off Sam Wilson Captain America, or all new Captain America #1, with Sam in his new Cap costume, which we see later, and I think it's one of the most comic book accurate costumes that the MCU has put out. I mean, it's almost exactly the same as off the page. The only difference, I think, Sam in the comic book still had the wings under the arms, where this one still attached the jetpack. But other than that, I mean, everything looked almost just translated right off the page to the screen, which was great. So you guys ready to jump in? Episode 6, One World, One People. We start off with picking up right where we left off in episode 5, with the attack on the GRC panel when they're about to vote on the Patch Act to reset the borders, move the people around, and the Flag Smashers were attacking the building. Bucky is the first to arrive on the scene. I was trying to figure out where we left all of our characters geographically, because I know Sam was in Louisiana, and Bucky had left him saying, anytime you need me, call me. And I think he's stationed somewhere around DC for some reason, maybe New York. I'm not sure, but Bucky was sort of the first there, and he's got a lot of respect from the law enforcement on the scene. They were all, referring to him as Sergeant Barnes and making way for him to kind of make his way through the people, which I thought was interesting. I was kind of keeping tabs on who is freely available to just walk around wherever they please, and and the reactions from. In that conversation, we hear Sam calling into Bucky. He says he's on his way, so I'm assuming he's flying in from Louisiana. Their frequent flyer miles must be great in these shows, because they just show up instantly on the scene. This is taking place in Manhattan, and Sam's flying in, I guess, from Louisiana, maybe on his new wing jetpack. Who knows? But he tells Bucky that he's called in some backup, and who do we see? But well, first it's like a undistinguished man asking Bucky, who he is and whether he has authority to be there. And then we see the person pull at the side of the face and peel off, and it's Sharon Carter using the technology that we saw in the Winter Soldier. The Black Widow used that face changing technology. I think it was also showed up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But Sharon Carter has her hands on this very, very dangerous tech, if you really think about it, and being able to take the appearance of anyone, including the sound of their voice. And Sam was expecting her. I guess she is the backup that Sam called in. Didn't bother calling Rhodey, didn't bother calling anybody else from, the Avengers, the Hulk, nobody. Sharon Carter was his go-to, and she showed up. What did you guys think? Surprised to see Sharon on the scene, or were you just kind of like, well, she had to get here anyway?
I knew she had to get there, but it was funny how deferential everyone was being to them. And I guess maybe they don't realize that they're the ones that broke out Zemo, even though that, Walker knew. And so did that never get, brought back to the States that those two were responsible for all the havoc that was going on over in Europe? But if so, they, none of the government officials seemed to care.
Never got brought up in this entire episode.
Yeah,
their actions in breaking out Zemo. Never a word of it.
No consequence.
So let's so the next these are all big action sequences through kind of the first quarter, maybe the first half of the episode. It starts off with, we see like this little smoke bomb roll out into the GRC panel, and it releases the smoke. It kind of looked like a pumpkin bomb to me. I'm just gonna throw that out there because this tech came from Batrock's bag of tricks that we found out that he got from the power broker. So it looked like a smoke bomb. I'm just gonna like throw it like a pumpkin smoke bomb. Just gonna throw that out there. We also get the first appearance.
Am I supposed to get that reference or no?
Maybe not. I mean, it depends if you've watched the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, specifically the first one. Okay, not connected to the MCU yet. Okay. But just throwing that out there, maybe might make appearance later, related to the power broker and things that they're setting up. We get Sam's introduction as Captain America for the first time. We see a shield fly through a window, breaks in, hits Batroc or hits one of the Flag Smasher guards, and Sam flies in, busts in, stands up, dramatic music. First look at him in the outfit. What did you guys think? He introduces himself. He's like, "Oh, who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Captain America." Your first look at the new costume. Did you guys, did you like it? Did you have any reaction to it? Looked good?
Oh, yeah. I dug it.
I mean, not knowing the comics, and I thought it was great. I only wish she said, "I am Captain America." I thought that would have been, following in the MCU line. But no, I thought it was a great costume, great first appearance.
And it was sort of like the delivery of the line, it was sort of like, "I'm Captain America," and then he just walks off. It's not like Walker, who was like repeating it over and over again as like all he was. It was sort of like a throw off line, We get a great battle between Sam and Batroc, who Batroc is trying to get revenge on Sam for, making him lose his big deal and losing all this money. What I took from this was Sam's kind of holding his own. There's a lot of hand-to-hand combat, but Sam is kind of fighting him to a stalemate. And while he's doing that, he's giving orders out to Bucky and Sharon for what they should be doing. Don't let the Flag Smashers leave the building. He's coordinating them. And it was like this natural leadership position. He's Captain America now. So he's calling the shots. He's calling the plays. I thought that was a really great way to show sort of, Sam's in charge and he's taking charge and they're following his orders. Carly and starts trying to, she calls a phone and Bucky picks up and she's trying, we have this classic, like, you don't want to do this. And Bucky's like, no, you shouldn't be doing this. And they're trying to still talk her down. And he's like, I've been down this road. I know where it goes. The nightmares, you'll never get over them. And Carly's just still pretty steadfast on what she wants to do. She's like, you should have sat this one out. You should just move on. You don't know what it's like to fight for something bigger than yourself. And Bucky takes exception to that because he was enlisted in the army and, he's fought with the Avengers and all this stuff. So he's kind of like, well, I've done that before. Here, the Flag Smashers' plan is to sort of load all the senators into these police vans. And there's like another guard who's attaching this sort of locking mechanism on the back of the doors. And it reminded me a lot of the Dark Knight in this scene. I was going to ask Marvelous Mike if he felt some Dark Knight vibes, because we have like a big police van. It's kind of like a chase through the city. We got choppers overhead. Just see some Dark Knight inspiration there.
I did. Yes, that when they locked the police truck, definitely got those vibes. I also got some Die Hard vibe as well, when they were trying to, everyone escape, go up to the roof. That's where you're going to be saved. Only to that be the plan all along for our villains.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So their plan, they're trying to get the senators away, but also they're going to hold them hostage in doing so. The trucks begin to move and Sharon calls out to Bucky. She's like, look, you had one job, was to not let them escape. And like, I was like, well, Sam said both of you don't let them escape. So it wasn't just Bucky's job. But Sharon's, apparently her job was to track down the guy who put the locking mechanisms on the trucks. And she does that by kind of running into him. She's like, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. He gets into his truck. She detonates this thing and it like some smoke appears and it melts off half of his face and he's dead at the wheel. And Sam's like, oh, what happened to your guy? And she's like, oh, I took care of him. I just set off a mercury bomb. And like, Sam never questions it, doesn't bring it up again. She just very nonchalantly just kills this guy. And it doesn't come up again. But it's just the ruthlessness. I mean, it makes sense later. But in this moment, you're like, Sharon Carter, what is going on here? I mean, John Walker killed a man, and it became like a whole big public thing. She just nonchalantly melted somebody's face off. It's just crazy.
It was a much quieter and quicker death.
Hopefully.
Well, not for him.
Melts his face off. Sam leaves the Batroc fight because, like Mike said, we have the Die Hard moment where some of the senators are in a helicopter and they're being taken hostage by the Flag Smashers. And, Bucky's basically tells Sam, hey, they're leaving. And Sam's still in the middle of fighting Batroc. And he's like, well, can you handle it? And Bucky's like, no, flying things, that's your job. That's not me. I don't have the wings. So Sam kind of like abandons the middle of the fight. He like knocks Batroc over and jumps out the window in this very heroic Steve Rogers type of move. He throws the shield out and dives after it and goes flying. And we have this great sequence where we kind of see Sam in action. It's a good thing he didn't get rid of those wings because he's still very skilled in the air. He uses Red Wing 2.0, his little drone, which has been upgraded to scan faces now. It can scan the people on the helicopter, figure out their background, who has flight experience, and he devises this plan to sort of bust the Flag Smasher out of the pilot's seat and have somebody else take over and scoop it up in the nick of time to save the helicopter from crashing into the water. This was our first chance to kind of see Sam acting as Captain America, using the shield, using all of his new gadgets. What do you guys think? I mean, Captain America, Sam Wilson is pretty awesome, I think.
Oh yeah, I'm into him. I'm really glad he kept those wings.
Yeah.
Because they don't show, he gives the wings away and they don't show you what he sees in the box at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's cool.
Mike?
Definitely. How shall I put this? Much more high tech than Steve Rogers. but so far like a flawless Captain America. Just everything working for him during these sequences, and tech wise, as I said, taking it to a new level. Sort of a mix of Captain America and Iron Man, really, with the high tech and the gadgets.
Good point. Yeah, good point. He's upgraded with that Wakandan jetpack, and we don't know what's going to pop out of there. I mean, it's like a little bag of tricks, a little bit. I did like that the first time he threw the shield, like at Batroc, I think Batroc either like kicked it down or like kind of swatted it or threw a chair at it or something, and it fell on the ground. And it's like, okay, he's still kind of getting the hang of this. But after, I mean, just that first throw, after that, he was pretty flawless, hitting every target, always came back to him. You know, that throw through the helicopter to take out that pilot was awesome. Yeah, it's great to see. And, you know, all that training down in Louisiana paid off, you know, for this moment here. The other thing I wanted to say was I talked about last week, like, oh, well, Sam is just a human being. Like, he can get shot and like, that'll be it. He takes on a chopper to the face in this episode where, you know, he saves the NYPD pilot. He takes him down to the bridge. The chopper's falling towards him and he uses his wings and the shield to kind of create like a cocoon. And the entire helicopter bounces off of the wings and into the water. And it's just like, okay, Sam's going to be all right. You know, with this vibranium suit and these wings that almost seem like they work by telepathically with Sam. Or it seems like he's not really activating anything, that the wings are just kind of going where he wants them to go. I think he's going to be okay.
Well, yeah.
So we get a little, you know, a little Carly moment where she changes course, you know, when she sees Sam on the scene and she sees Bucky and Sharon. She basically decides, like, look, I'm not afraid to die today. We're going to stop this vote one way or another. Let's kill the hostages. So she decides she's going to try to take over the van that one of them is in. And while she's telling the other Flag Smashers her plan, you can see that they're kind of hesitant. They're like, we're not killers. You know, she tries to get them to say like the one world, one people. And instead of the very, you know, very forceful reply that she was usually getting, they were kind of hesitant to answer her. And she has to repeat herself, you know, one world, and wait for the one people. So she's losing some of her support here. But, you know, she gets them to go along with her, pack up the hostages.
But hold on a second. What did they think they were doing? You just took a bunch of the world's most, you know, leaders, the world's greatest leaders, hostage by doing smoke bombs, by getting these armed folks in there. And now all of a sudden, oh, it's too much for us. We can't, we're not. Oh yeah, we're just everything but. So, come on.
Right up against the line, and then
yeah, after they massacred the embassy that was over there a few weeks ago as well. Like,
well, they weren't all on board on that plan either. That was all kind of Carly. Like, we had the one Australian guy who was like, what are we doing? And she's like, you know, you got to get in the car and don't take that car. So they're not all on board, I don't think, with this plan. But
they obviously then didn't, you know, weren't paying close attention to what the plans were then when they were going with it.
What I found interesting was we only see really 4 other Flag Smashers here. I mean, I know Nico was killed, and we do see the Australian guy, and then like 3 other like extras. But I thought they distributed the serum to more people than that. I mean, I know they had to fight on the 2 like 18-wheelers, and I thought there were like at least 8 or 9 people involved. But here we just keep seeing 4, maybe 5, counting Carly. So are there other Flag Smashers out there? You know, it's kind of a question that I have, because
that's for season 2.
We'll see if this gets wrapped up as neatly as they'd like it to look. But before we get to that, as Carly's getting ready, she's getting ready to drive away, we hear Carly Morgenthau. And then, you know, here he comes. He's walking in. He's walking through the streets of Manhattan with his DIY shield. John Walker is back. Carly sees him. She kind of rolls her eyes. She's like, look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to kill anybody. His life isn't the one that's important right now. And, you know, John Walker's like, Lamar wasn't important to you, you know, and he like just freaking out. It's kind of, you know, on his revenge kick. Tries to throw his little YouTube shield at her that he worked all night on. And she just swats it away, which was great. The other flag smashers just start coming in and just like beating on Walker, and he's kind of like getting beat up, getting the crap kicked out of him. And out of nowhere, Bucky saves the day, pushes him off, starts fighting them, and we have like this Bucky Walker battle between them and the flag smashers. Bucky gets pushed over into like this pit where I guess it's like the construction area or something. But he's kind of like knocked out of the fight. And Carly at one point decides that she's going to throw the truck into the pit and push the hostages over. And we think that it's going to go over because we see the truck from Bucky's perspective down inside the pit, and all of a sudden it stops tipping over, and we see Walker's grabbing the back of the truck. He made a decision. You see, he kind of looked at Carly because he could have gone after Carly, but instead he decides to save the truck of the Senators, pulls it back a little bit, and it's kind of like out of harm's way. But then he gets pushed into the pit with some more flag smashers, and the truck starts falling forward anyway, until our boy Sam Wilson comes in with his new Captain America jetpack and saves the actual truck, pushes it back up. We get this great scene from the crowd. I love the Marvel crowd moments because they're so like spot on what people would be saying in like these crazy situations. But like one guy's like, "Yo, it's Black Falcon," and like another guy's like, "No, it's Captain America," and it's like, yeah. So
wait, let's talk about what happened with the first van though.
Yep. The first van, the one she set on fire.
Yeah.
So she set one on fire, and she's like, "Well, we got to give Bucky something to save. Like that's the way to distract them, is to give people, give them some people to save. We can get away." And that's the one where Bucky's like trying to open the door, and he can't get past the locking mechanism, and he's punching, and like he finally gets through, and he opens the door, and the
was a light to take that off.
Yeah, the Senators inside are like, "Well, thank you for saving us." And it's kind of, I think this may be the first time we've ever seen Bucky saving people. So, because he like takes that compliment like, oh, you're welcome. Like he's not quite sure what to do with it. So yeah, the Winter Soldier saving rather than killing everyone and their kids and their parents and all that other stuff. So, so was there anything else with the first van that you wanted to cover, or was it just
no, that was it. That okay. Just him literally pulling the lock off.
Yeah. So this is the first time Carly sees Sam as Captain America, and she's so disappointed. She's like, you fell for it. You fell for all that bull. And Sam's trying to like, well, look, I'm trying to do this a different way, which is sort of like his thesis statement as Captain America for the rest of the episode. But before they can really talk it out, who's back? Batroc. He's firing smoke into the pit. Everybody starts running. People get disoriented. The flag smashers go running in one direction. Sam, Bucky, and Walker start running. And I'm just at this point in the episode, I'm like, so they're all working together now? Like, we're not going to discuss, that Walker's back and he's still in the suit and he has his DIY shield, which they showed like crumpled on the ground. It took all of 5 minutes to destroy. But like, there's no mention at all of like, hey, you just tried to kill us last week. Like literally just tried to kill us, murder us. They're all working together now. There's a common enemy that they're running down this alleyway. Walker breaks off, and Sam looks at Bucky, and Bucky's like, I got it. And he runs after Walker to make sure that, he doesn't do anything crazy by himself. And we see Carly kind of looking around this empty construction site, or inside this building, and we hear that bird whistle that they have been using throughout the show to call out to each other. And we find out that it's Sharon Carter who's using the bird whistle against them to lure Carly in. And we get this conversation between Sharon and Carly where Sharon's like, look, I took you in. I'm so disappointed in you. We could work together, and I gave you this opportunity. You should come back and work for me. And it's at that moment that it's revealed for everybody who didn't know by now that Sharon Carter is the power broker. what? Crazy.
I
So
think now we should have an official commendation for those that predicted that from the time that the Power Broker was first mentioned.
when was that? Episode 3? Episode, yeah,
so.
when they get to Madripoor, yeah,
Yeah.
is the first time they mentioned it. And you know, if we had any accolades, or you get a Marvel No Prize. That's what they used to call them back in the day.
Yeah.
Marvel No Prize. That's what you get for picking that out, for making that prediction. It'll be mailed directly to you. Post office is a little slow lately, but you'll get it any day now. Marvel
That's
No
all
Prize.
right. That's all right. Just so it's on the record.
So Carly wants nothing to do with her. She's like, look, she's being smug about it. She's like, what's the Power Broker without the power, without the muscle? You know, and so, you know, I don't know if she knows who she's playing with, but they both have guns drawn, and I think Sharon put hers down, so Carly's kind of got like the upper hand. But all of a sudden we get Batroc, who shows up on the scene and threatens them both. He basically sees Sharon Carter and he's like, oh, you're the Power Broker. I didn't know that. So remember what you said you're going to pay me before? Now you're going to pay me 4 times as much. And you know, we have this sort of like Mexican standoff where, you know, Sharon's pointing her gun at the Batroc, Batroc's pointing it at Sharon, Carly's pointing it at Batroc. I don't know. Everybody's pointing guns at each other. And all of a sudden we hear the gunshots. Boom, boom, boom. Batroc falls. Sharon shoots Batroc. Sharon gets shot by Carly, but it's like off to the side stomach, so it's non-fatal. And Sam shows up, and then he walks in. He sees Carly standing over Sharon Carter on the ground, holding the gun. So it looks like, you know, Sharon was trying to defend herself. Carly's standing over her, misses the entire conversation about who the Power Broker is, and you know, now Sharon's kind of closing off the loose ends, right? Like, so Batroc knew, threatened to reveal her identity. She shot him. He's dead. And now Carly's the last one left. And what kicks off is sort of the battle between Sam and Carly. And Sam is refusing to fight her. He's using the wings. He's using the shield, all as defense, not as offense. He does at one point, I think, push her into like a pole, but he's just saying like, I won't fight you. And she's like, fight me, you know, trying to goad him into attacking. And he wants to talk it out. I mean, he still sees redemption for her, sort of a light at the end of the tunnel. And Carly points her gun at Sam, and you see her face, like the actress does a great job with the facial expressions, because like at first she's like not quite sure, and then she kind of like makes a face like she's more determined and angry, and then we hear another gunshot and she falls, and she's been shot by Sharon Carter, closing up those loose ends, like I said. And she basically dies in Sam's arms. She says, I'm sorry to Sam. She apologizes. And then she dies right there. And there's this like great scene where, you know, Sam is holding her with like a little bit of light coming in through from the outside. And it's just her dead body there on the ground. What did you guys think of the resolution sort of this Carly battle and the Power Broker stuff and all that?
I'm going to jump in quickly because I will be outvoted. I did not like the Carly resolution in that she became a martyr and tried to get us sympathies in the end. After everything, after all her stubbornness, after all her violent acts, after everything they did throughout these 6 episodes, I did not like the way that her story arc ended.
Kendall?
See, I liked it.
That's good. That's good. That's what this is all about.
I think that if Carly was going to, like, in quotes, be defeated, like in a, you know, in a violent manner, like someone beats her up, it has to be like, it can't be Bucky or Cap who like did it, you know what I mean? Like, I guess she could have come around and that could have been the resolution, but I don't know. I think like she I think she had to die for like the story to have any real emotional resonance. But you know, Bucky and Sam can't be the ones to kill her.
Yeah, I just I think they didn't quite know how far on either side to take that character. Because you know they kept making really good points. They showed about like how much she cares about the community, that her message is getting across to people, but they also kept showing the way her actions were having effect on the other flag smashers, and they were basically saying like, hey, you're pushing us too far, and that she was going kind of going off the deep end. And that's what Zemo kept saying, like, she's irredeemable, she's gone too far, she's not going to come back. And you know, usually in a show like this or in an MCU project, she would go out trying to like save somebody, you know, in that like final act of redemption. That would be what kills her or whatever. But here she's just kind of shot dead by Sharon, just kind of tying up the loose ends. And you know, I don't know if that's the most satisfying way to handle the conclusion of the arc. But I do agree with you, Kendall. I don't see her just kind of like living out the rest of her days at the raft, or, you know, just getting one of those types of like, oh, we'll just lock her up and, you know, she may break out and we'll see her again later. I didn't see anything like that happening either. So not sure. I mean, I think it's kind of that middle of the road messaging of the show that we were talking about last week.
I mean, the vision that I got when Cap is carrying Carly out is like, it's like a I mean, the vision I got was like 9/11, the firefighters carrying people out of the rubble as if she was a victim. And a victim, and then they try and turn it that she was a victim of the senators, of the world powers. And that's what I did not appreciate. That. I didn't care for that, the way they took that. Mm-hmm. That they forced her to do this instead of really not putting any of the responsibility, this was my take, on Carly for her actions.
And she did murder 3 people. You know, they never talked about that again. She blew up that building, and, you know, those people had families and lives, and, you know, their only crime, like, you know, we were thinking maybe there was some conspiracy with the GRC and like they would turn out to be Hydra or bad guys or something all along. But, you know, their only crime was that they were a little slow, you know, with getting out the supplies and the medicine and stuff. They haven't revealed that there's any kind of nefarious planning or any kind of underlying reason why, you know, the supplies were late. So yeah, I mean, I think, you know, looking at it in that lens, there's no really good way to redeem Carly because of, you know, she has blood on her hands.
Yeah, and like for like the narrative of the show, I guess I understand why they would like paint Carly as the victim. Like it's not like she like didn't pay a price, you know, at the end there, like she's dead. But like if Carly's not playing the victim, like, and like, or at least if Sam isn't spinning it that way to those senators, like what is to convince them to like fix that problem at all? You know what I mean?
Right. You know what? I agree with you there that they had to put her as the victim or make her come across as a victim for all the other themes of the show to tie in nicely at the end.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's not trying to tell the audience that Carly's a victim. Like, I think it's shown even within this episode, like, Carly, you went about this the entirely like wrong way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't want to move too far past this, but the next scene is sort of like the consequences or the aftermath, and it's Sam's speech to the senators and to the GRC people as they're assembled, and this is sort of the Sam as Captain America moment of the show where, you know, you're winning with words, and Sam gets more done here with this speech than Carly did blowing up, you know, any buildings or dying or anything else. And this is where the show, the cynic in me would be like, you know, if this happened in reality, one, these senators wouldn't stand around in front of a bunch of press cameras and microphones to be lectured to. But two, they would have already had their vote written down. They had their speeches and pages written down. And, we've seen this in real life. It wouldn't have changed their vote. No amount of terroristic activity, their lives in danger, would not have changed the vote that they walked in there to make that day. So that's the only moment where I was like,
I
I've got to suspend some
that didn't
disbelief.
cross my mind, but we talked about the parallels of real life to this show, man. Wow, yes.
Right? January 6th, that's all I got to say. I mean, there are people that still voted the same way, no matter what happened, their lives are in danger, whatever. So that was the only moment where I'm like, I got to suspend my disbelief a little bit here. But Sam basically, tells them, he asked them first, are you going to move forward with resetting the borders? And they just keep telling Sam, look, you don't understand the position we're in, how difficult it is, the situation at play. And Sam just kind of gives it back to him. He's like, look, you're right. I'm not saying I do understand this any better than you, but what I am saying is that you guys are the ones in power that can figure this out. I mean, he points out that, they run the banks, they can demolish a forest with an email. They can, they have all of this power, and they need to use it effectively, and they need to really think about what they're doing here. And he says that, for the first time today, you have felt helpless when you were locked in the back of those vans, or you were stuck in that helicopter. Now you know what the refugees feel like that have no home. They have nowhere to go. They're being pushed back into their country. And so, he's trying to, like you were saying before, leverage this situation, this really bad night for these GRC deciders. I keep saying senators, but they're, different world leaders from all over the place. He's trying to leverage their feelings of helplessness and scared, their fear, into trying to make them understand how the regular person may feel who was displaced. And it's not an easy answer, and there are no easy solutions to this. I mean, I can't imagine the strain on the resources that this Marvel world is going through, with all these, half the population blipping back into existence. But I think Sam is doing a good job here of shining a light, and they show all the supporting characters of the show, Sam's sister, Isaiah Bradley, watching the news, watching Sam give this speech, and inspiring people around the country, and showing why he was the best choice for Captain America. And like I said, he makes a good point at one point of saying, I'm a black man wearing the stars and stripes. I picked this shield up, and millions of people hate me for it. I know that there are people here right now that hate me for it. And it's kind of funny, they kept cutting to John Walker during the speech too, who's just kind of standing there watching Sam, being Captain America, holding the shield that he fought so hard to keep and say that it was his. So I don't know if they were alluding to Walker as one of those people, but basically saying, racism is still alive and well in this country. There are people that will never accept me being Captain America, but hey, all I can do is try to do better, to be better, and to bring the country into a place where it can do better. And I want to show them that it starts now. It starts tonight with this GRC panel, with this vote. You can change your minds, and we can build and grow from here. So yeah, that was Sam's big speech. I think it was sort of the culminating moment of the entire show. What did you guys think? Did you guys feel inspired? Did you feel like it was a little too hokey on the nose? How'd you feel about Sam's big speech?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was dead on. Yeah, pretty powerful speech. But
sorry, Mike, before you say anything, but what went through my mind was, he's describing, Sam Wilson, the character in the show, is describing the reaction that Sam Wilson, the comic book character, got from, the vocal Marvel comic fandom, who rejected, having him as Captain America, and it was always like, well, it's not that he's black, it's just that it's not Steve Rogers, it should be Steve, this and that. And it's just so funny because when he says millions of people don't want me to wear this shield, don't want me to wear these stars and stripes, like it felt very meta. It felt like a very meta moment. It may be referring to the MCU fandom. I guess we'll see. But I was like, yeah, Sam Wilson, you speak that truth.
Yeah.
Mike, sorry, I jumped.
Well, so question. You said 2014 is when Sam Wilson became Captain America.
Yeah.
And when was Walker Captain America?
Well, Walker, I think it was the late 80s, maybe mid 80s.
80 something.
Yeah. And then Steve Rogers came back and.
Yeah. See, Walker went down sort of a weird path. I think he was introduced as another character first, and then he became Captain America, but he was way too over the top violent and whatnot. So they stripped the title from him, kind of like in the show, just to a more extreme extent. And then I think Cap took it back, or Steve Rogers took it back, and then he became U.S. agent / whatever. But he's the mantle of Captain America has jumped around a lot lately. But Marvel made a big deal in 2014 of passing it down. Steve Rogers was accelerated in age to being old. This may sound familiar for MCU watchers. And he passed down the shield to Sam Wilson, who was his longtime partner, which I think it was the first time that Sam Wilson had been Captain America at that point. It was pretty big deal. It was a line-wide relaunch where a lot of the legacy characters were being taken on by new characters in the Marvel universe. Iron Man was no longer Tony Stark. It was a young woman named Riri Williams, who was Ironheart. And we also had Thor being passed off to Jane Foster. So it's a little bit of what we're starting to see right now in the MCU, actually, with some of these legacy characters stepping down and other characters maybe filling the role.
Because that's what I was not sure about. You had mentioned it to me, the timeline.
Yeah, there's a great tweet by Anthony Mackie, who was playing Falcon, I think, at that time. I think 2014 was about when Winter Soldier came out. And he tweeted when he heard that in the comics, Sam Wilson was now Captain America. And he's got a picture of, I think it was him, it may be another boy, dressed as Captain America, a young boy. And he says, this is amazing. Captain America is Sam Wilson, and it's only in the comic books, but it's happening, and he was so excited about it back in 2014. Little did he know that, 7 years later, he would himself be playing Captain America.
So just going to Sam's speech, America's speech, at first I started to think it was a little too preachy, only and to the point of, we label this person a terrorist, we label this person all that. But then that was it. After everything on there, his speech to the senators, to the deciders, was, I think, exactly what the show was going for, exactly what was needed. And I think, again, paralleling the country, what was needed to be said. So the first few sentences aside, I thought it hit the spot perfectly. Again, I did think it was a little unrealistic, like you said, and that was my other criticism, that in real life, this would not have happened. In real life, none of this would have happened. I guess we have to suspend all belief, but that was, it took out the realism for me of whatever realism, remains. It reminded me, it was a Netflix limited series last year called Hollywood. I don't know if either of you watched it. I think it was Ryan Murphy. And it had to do with the film studios in the 40s and how one studio decided to make a motion picture with a male lead and a female lead who's Black, and then gay supporting characters and all this and that. And it goes on to win the Oscars, and it solves the civil rights movement with one movie. I don't like that, lack of realism.
Right.
Oversimplification.
Yes.
So moving on from that
I
moment.
know if any letters that I get, send right to Brigantine.
No, send to Level Up Entertainment. No. So the scene ends with Sam sort of walking out, of the crowd, and he looks at Walker, and Walker kind of gives him a nod, which I guess is like, you're good. Like you can be Captain America now. It's like, all right, well, dude, he didn't need your approval, man. So it was kind of this really weird moment, because again, they didn't really reference like, so is he good now? Like, is he working with us? What's going on? And not only that, but Walker then like moves past Sam and goes back through the crowd, through the senators, who, like, the one senator had just last week ripped the title from him, walked right through the crowd and goes right on his way, as if everything's fine and there's no repercussions. I mean, he was wearing the Captain America uniform again, even though he was stripped of that title. Just can do whatever he wants, I guess.
A lot of forgive and forget in this.
Yes. Sharon Carter refuses any kind of medical treatment. She doesn't want to be on the radar yet, but Sam tells her, like, hey, I haven't forgotten about that promise I made you. I'll get you that part. And she also compliments Sam and says that the Captain America uniform looks good on him. And then we go into the epilogues. So the epilogues for the show, we start with the Flag Smashers, right? So they were tricked by Walker and Bucky earlier on by using their app. He tricked them into this position where they got arrested. They were loading them up into a police van, and one of the people who were loading them up gives them the one world, one people. It was very reminiscent of the Hail Hydra catchphrase. He loads them up, and they close the van door, gets into the van, starts driving away, and all of a sudden, a massive explosion. And they pull back, and they show an old man sitting in a car. And at first, I didn't know who that was. I was like, oh, is this a Marvel character that we're supposed to know?
That was Alfred, wasn't that Alfred?
It was Zemo's butler. I just forgot, what he looked like in the three episodes. But he has a radio device. He has a radio device.
I can't wait to talk about who we think this guy is.
Who is that? No, that was Zemo's butler. He puts the radio control device back in his jacket, and he sets it to the car. And then we have the radio is playing, and it explains, today there was an explosion and 4 Flag Smashers were blown up, and the GRC also announced that it's changing its vote for the Patch Act, and they're not going to move the refugees around. So and it shows Zemo is the one that's listening on the radio, and he closes his book, lays back on his cot in the raft, and smiles. And I'm like, wow, just every villain is just winning in this show. I mean, Carly got what she wanted. Zemo's getting what he wanted. Everybody's winning.
Well, I guess his ends justified the means.
Yeah, but my question is, like, so was that all the Flag Smashers? Because, there's this whole movement that they keep alluding to that's growing worldwide. And, are we going to see this one world, one people thing become the new Hail Hydra? Are they going to, continue on as an organization? And are there still other enhanced people out there? And the other question I had, regarding the Zemo storyline, because this kind of wraps that up, was, John Walker's still out there. And Zemo wasn't exactly like a John Walker fan. And, he kind of flies in the face of Zemo's whole plan of a world without super soldiers, a world without icons, especially as we find out later on what's going to happen to Walker. So, is Zemo, how does he feel about this? How does he feel about Walker, still going on? Are we going to see him again and the two of them go at it? I don't know. But it's nice to see that he has, he ends the series exactly where he started it, in jail, reading books, laying back in prison.
I really hope this is not the end of Zemo, though, because he really has become the Loki so far. Just, the villain you love to hate, but now you love to love.
He has now achieved his goals twice in these Marvel properties. He won in Civil War, in breaking up the Avengers, and he won here in killing off all the Flag Smashers. So, you know, he's the only Marvel villain I think we can say that has achieved his goals multiple times. And again, you know, this is never brought up again. They don't, like, the heroes aren't upset about it. You know, they go to a party later, but like, you know, the fact that all these people just got blown up. So, you know, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how does Zemo's reach extend outside of the raft moving forward.
He was able to contact Alfred.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The next scene, we're in the same.
I don't know if that, do we ever discuss if that's his actual name?
I don't think they ever gave him a name.
We all know
The next scene, we're in the same courtroom. I guess the Marvel Disney Plus budget only allows for one set, but it's the same courtroom that we saw Walker being stripped of his titles. We see Val, and she's kind of impatiently waiting, talking to Walker's significant other. And she says, she pulls up the phone, and she's like, oh, looks like our friend Zemo got exactly what he wanted. And she goes, I couldn't have planned that better, you know, if I had planned it. And then she goes back and forth playfully. She's like, but I didn't plan it. But did I? No, I didn't. But I might have. And so it's like, whoa, what? Where does this character's allegiances lie? We don't know. We don't know. But she, you know, basically calls Walker out of the back. He was like getting changed. He was taking too long. He walks out, and he's in almost the same suit he was in before, but it's all black. It's like a darker, maybe dark blue, but it has no A on the helmet, and there is one star off to the side, and it's got like white striping in the middle of the chest. And he walks out, and he's like, "This looks great. You know, I'm good. I'm good." And Val tells him, "You know, look, things are about to get weird. We don't need a Captain America. What we need is a U.S. agent." And so he stands there, and she's like, just be ready when I call you. She walks away, and Walker's standing there with his significant other, and he's like, I'm back. So many questions here. One, are they in the courtroom because he's been reinstated in some way as an agent of the United States, as a superhuman, as a, you know, has he been granted authority to act again as a superhero? Two, you know, is this a superheroic thing, or is Val a villain? You know, we talked about her a little bit last week, and she can fall on either side of the coin. And a lot of people were saying, you know, Walker was redeemed in this episode. He had a redemption arc, and he's now a good guy, and he's going to be U.S. agent. He's going to be this hero. And I don't know if we're supposed to be left with that feeling. What do you guys think? Walker, hero or villain?
Well, I have a question. The Val is in the comics, I'm assuming, yes?
Yes, U.S. agent is a character in the comics. Yep.
No, Val.
Val? Yeah.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah.
You know who is her arc connected with? Because I'm just curious.
Were you here last week when I was going through it? She's connected to almost everybody. Like she's been SHIELD, she's been Hydra, she's been connected to the Black Widow and like that organization that created the Black Widow assassins. She's been a Skrull, the shape-shifting aliens. She's been tied to almost every.
We don't know where it's going.
Allegiance. No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Just quickly, in terms of the redemption, at first I thought so, but then the more I was thinking about it, you know, he was still only avenging the death of his friend. He wasn't doing anything that was not still related to what he got in trouble for the first time. So
the only thing is he had the moment where he could have either continued his fight with Carly in trying to kill her or saved lives. And he decided to save the senators on the van and kind of pull them back. That was the only time. But it may have also been a calculated move where he thinks, okay, this is what's going to get me back in the favor of the public, back in the favor of the senators. If I save their lives, they're more likely to vote to make me a superhero again. I don't know. I mean, they left it very ambiguous.
And is U.S. agent good or bad in the comics?
Do you think the Punisher's good or bad? Like he's
That's
like a violent
Yeah, it depends
Good
on
guy.
the eye of the beholder. It's a tricky
Can
question.
can I read it in my encyclopedia when we hang up? Am I allowed to now?
You may spoil future stories for yourself.
Okay.
I think Marvel played this very smart. I like to look at what the internet reaction is, on these episodes, and there were a lot of people that were like, I feel like Walker had a redemption arc and now he gets to be a superhero again. So they think that, he's going to be a full-on good guy. And I don't.
Arc is, I wouldn't call it a redemption arc.
That's where I'm coming from. I'm like, am I missing something here? Because
It's like a moment.
Last week he was literally trying to kill our heroes, and they had to rip his arm to get the shield away from him. So I don't know. And the other problem that this sets up is, for anybody who rejects Sam as Captain America, if they feel like he's not worthy, if they feel like he's not doing it the way that they wanted him to do it, or even if he doesn't look the way that they want Captain America to look, Marvel has left open this blonde-haired, blue-eyed alternative, and that he's just floating out there in the Marvel universe. So it's kind of giving Sam a tough setting to establish his Captain America mantle. But I don't think they're playing it that way. I'm just talking out loud here, and I think that is actually one of the side stories, a short arc of the Sam Wilson Captain America comics, which I highly recommend if anybody has a Marvel Unlimited or your local comic book shop. Level Up Entertainment may have some back issues, I don't know, but check it out, shoplevelup.com. And John Walker does make an appearance in that, and it's kind of like, you're unworthy of the shield, give it back, and they have a battle. So I just hope that John Walker, U.S. agent floating around out there, doesn't cause problems in terms of externally outside the Marvel Cinematic Universe from the fans, that there isn't some kind of cry for him to be Captain America over Sam, and that Sam gets a fair shake at it.
Was there when originally?
Yeah. When the comics originally came out?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were people that didn't want Sam Wilson to be Captain America.
No, I understand that, but wanted Walker instead?
I don't think it's Walker instead, but my point is, I'm seeing all the online chatter about people feeling like he's been redeemed in some way in this episode, and they feel like he's getting a second chance. So that doesn't
create an opening to become Captain America.
Right. So, and there were people defending him after he killed Nico. I mean, there were people that were like, well, he's a soldier and his life was in danger and he was doing what he was supposed to do. And, it's very scary because it followed a lot of the patterns and a lot of the defending behavior that you see in real life after some of the murders that we've seen, on behalf of law enforcement, over unarmed people, over African-American people, that it's like you see that toxic behavior being defended all the time. And it was sort of that same group and those same types of arguments that were following John Walker. And, now that Marvel has sort of presented him in this new way, I hope that doesn't follow this character as well, because in the comic books, he is kind of a jerk. It's just this like really ultra right wing, you're supposed to kind of hate the guy. And like the Punisher, there are groups of people out there, no offense to anybody who likes the Punisher, who, they eat it up. They buy the comic books, they defend it, they like it. I mean, that's their cup of tea. So, it's a tricky road under today's political climate for Marvel to walk. But I commend them for approaching the issues that they did in this show, and I wish them luck moving forward.
Are we done? Is that it?
No, there's more. That was just my soapbox. That was my soapbox. That's the end of the John Walker piece of it. That's the end of his storyline. We get a little scene with Bucky going back to Yuri from episode 1, the man whose son he murdered, and he's kind of taking Sam's advice here. He approaches Yuri. he comes clean. He confesses that he's the one that killed him. Yuri asks why. He explains that he was the Winter Soldier. He had no choice, which, you know, is all the common things that he's saying to all the people whose family members he's murdered. I felt this scene was kind of rushed. I would have liked to see more of it. And this was sort of the conclusion of the Bucky storyline of this show. And I kind of feel like Bucky didn't get as much time quite as Sam did. But, you know, Sam, we were setting up something very, very big for Sam. So it makes sense. But I kind of would have liked to see a little bit more time here with Bucky, making amends with Yuri and sort of getting that closure. We see him later kind of watching over Yuri from, you know, afar at the restaurant, and he's back with the waitress from episode 1. And it seems like Yuri is kind of moving on with his life. But yeah, it was an emotional scene, but it was only, you know, a few seconds long. Sorry,
I feel they wrapped up, or not wrapped up, but like Bucky evolved into the character that he needed to be in the place that he needed to be, you know, sort of last week. So this may have not been on the same level to do with Sam. So it was sort of just, here's a little loose end, let's just tie it, put it nicely. And Yuri was down in that sake, man. He didn't care. He went right back there.
Yeah. And you know, Bucky turns in the Steve's notebook with all the names crossed off. He turns it back over to his therapist, leaves her a nice note. Basically should have said thanks for nothing. Sam Wilson helped me, but you know, we close off sort of Bucky's storyline with he's feeling like a new man. He's ready to go. He's hopefully not having the nightmares anymore, and yeah, we'll see where the Winter Soldier ends up from here. We get closure to the Isaiah Bradley storyline. Sam goes back to see Isaiah, and Isaiah at first gives him a hard time. He's like, look, you good luck, you know, and no black man should have been Captain America. We see Eli again. Eli's like, what's up, Black Falcon? What you doing here? This is great, because Sam's like, you need to learn some manners. So, you know, we'll see what happens if Eli makes another appearance, but definitely an outspoken character, not afraid to stick it to our main character here. Sam basically explains his decision to Isaiah and says, hey, I'm gonna try this. I may die doing this, but I'm going to try to do it the right way. I'm going to try to do it my way, and we'll go. And he gets some acceptance from Isaiah here. And he also has one more surprise for him. He says, hey, clean up. We're going to go. I'm going to take you for a ride. Let's go. And he brings Eli and Isaiah back to the Smithsonian exhibit on Captain America. They walk through the exhibit a little bit, and then they go to this like back room or side room. And it's an entire room that's now dedicated to Isaiah Bradley. It's got a plaque telling his story and honoring him and the 332nd, which was that group of black soldiers that were experimented on. So we see Isaiah taking it all in. He's getting visibly moved, and he hugs Sam, and Sam says, you know, now they'll never forget the sacrifices that you made for this country. Kind of a nice way to tie off that character, that storyline. I don't know if I quite buy it that Isaiah would be moved rather than pissed off about Sam kind of, you know, sharing his story and getting it out there. But it was a nice moment, and it was very well acted, I thought. So now we've got the family barbecue.
Question.
Yeah.
Does Eli,
I
guess the grandson, Isaiah's grandson, he is a character?
Yes, he is.
Comics? Okay.
Yes, he is. And he's tied to this Captain America legacy discussion.
Oh, that was my question. Does new Cap get a new Falcon?
Well, I talked about it a little bit before, but remember Torres, Joaquin Torres?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he left the wings there. That character plays the new Falcon in the book. So we'll see what happens there. But if you've been noticing, the MCU has been introducing a lot of younger actors, kids, teenage age, that are either related to superheroes or have superpowers. And they've been introducing more and more of these characters. Maybe we'll see them again sometime. They are characters from the comic books that do pop up. So
if they got a 13-year-old, that's 30 years of movies we got at least with that. So I'm fine with it.
Marvel may be building their future of movies like right before our eyes here through these series. It'll be great to see.
Which if they do, I'm not to cut off again. If they do, the brilliance, really, just the sheer brilliance of Marvel in the painstaking details and mapping out everything, I think has to be commended.
Kevin Feige, who is sort of like the godfather of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he's like the head honcho. He says that in his office, he has a timeline plan. And I think it was like maybe 4 years ago now or 3 years ago, but he said he has it set out for like the next 20 to 25 years of movies, of stories, of everything where they want to go. I don't know if I quite buy that because they're running through the major comic book stories pretty quickly. So like we said, this is a 2014 story that they've adapted here. So they're running out of IP very quickly, unless, the comics division gets kind of their butts in gear. We're seeing a lot of
I'm sure they could adapt. We didn't cover, obviously we didn't cover all the stories from our legacies.
No, but they're hitting the big ones. And they're
okay.
running through them pretty quickly. So, we're starting to get, maybe we're starting to introduce new heroes, new characters that we haven't seen before, but the Sam Wilson era of being Captain America, it only lasted like maybe a year and a half, and part of that was interrupted by a major Marvel Comics event that interrupted all of the storylines. So they don't have much to go on, and my fear as a fan is that we're going to get into Game of Thrones territory where they outpaced the books, and then they were kind of left up to themselves to write and figure out the storylines, and it didn't feel the same. So I'm hoping that we don't get to that point. But again, the Marvel Comics division, they got to start pumping out some good content, because we're running out of stories. The storylines that they're adapting now in the new movies are closer and closer to recent day. So it'll be interesting to see going forward.
Yeah, I do have a lot of faith in the people who write these movies, and this might be, I don't even know. It's like weird for me to say because I am like a big comic book fan. For the most part, I prefer comic book versions of these characters.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're looking at the stories, like the movies, while they are still setting up the whole bigger universe, get to be, I feel like, a lot more contained with these stories. Like the upcoming Secret Invasion, I don't know, they're just taking the idea of Secret Invasion. If they were to adapt that directly, it would just be a huge mess.
Right. We saw it in Civil War, right? Civil War in the comic books is almost every Marvel hero. You've got the Fantastic Four, you've got everybody playing a role, and they condensed that down significantly to make sense for the Marvel universe.
Yeah, and to make it like a Captain America centric story also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know. I have a lot of faith. I know we are running out of a lot of things, but
that's just my fear, because I'm like, okay, this is 2014. Some of the other stuff that's coming up is very, very recent. Secret Invasion wasn't that long ago. They're just hope that we're still building. But I think Mike, I think you're right. There's plenty of storylines that people forget about. I think maybe they're not as they're not, it's not necessarily that the quality isn't as good as an Infinity War, where everybody knows Thanos and the gems. I just think that they're not as commercialized, like Infinity War, that story that was adapted in video games, in all kinds of stuff leading up.
Meanwhile, I got those comics, they're not selling for anything, so I don't understand what is going on.
But I think there are good stories that people just forgot about, maybe buried under the volume of material that Kevin Feige probably has gone through and has on his string line of 20 years of Marvel timeline to adapt. So we'll see. Before we end off, we've got the family cookout. Sam and Louisiana, the crew down there, they invite everybody. Bucky shows up. He got an invitation. He's got a cake he's playing with the kids, he's playing with the nephews. He's taking pictures with people hanging off his arm, and just having a good time. It's nice to see these heroes having fun, and it's like kind of the shawarma scene, just like extended a little bit. And the show ends with a new title, Captain America and the Winter Soldier, which is nice to see. It was like a nice capstone for the show. We get our usual little stylized credits, and then we have
great
the
soundtrack,
Stinger.
by the way, at the end.
Continuing
the Louisiana.
I want them to release the soundtracks for all the Marvel shows. They've been great. The music has been fantastic. I want the soundtrack to this show. I want the soundtrack to WandaVision. I could listen to Agatha All Along on loop for hours. It's been great. It's been great. So the Stinger, Sharon Carter is at that courtroom again, the same set, because we can only afford one courtroom set apparently. Same senator. I guess this guy is in charge of like all superheroes, all the Patch Act, repatriate.
At first, I thought he may have been Secretary of Defense, but they do refer to him as senator. So that's
I'm just like, this guy, he's on every committee apparently. I don't know. But he explains that Sharon Carter got a full pardon. The Carter family has always meant trust and service, and that name has carried this legacy. There's an opening at her old job if she wants it, and she's like, yep, that would be great. She's smiling, everybody's happy. She turns, she walks out, and she does that slow-mo like evil smile after she's walking out, and she doesn't even get off the courtroom steps before she's on the phone to somebody, and she's like, listen, we're in. We're going to get the government secrets. We're going to get the prototype weapons. Everybody who wants something, there's going to be something to buy. And that's how the show ends. And it's like, all right, she's in full power broker mode. One of the things that I keyed in on was that she talked about prototype weapons, which one of the Disney Plus shows that is coming down the pike is Armor Wars with Rhodey, and talking about, trying to go fix some of the loose Tony Stark Industries technology that's out there. Maybe some prototype Iron Man armor ends up in the wrong hands. So we may see Sharon Carter's power broker again in another Disney Plus show. I don't know. That's just a guess of mine. But yeah, I mean, Sharon's full evil now. And again, another villain gets their way. The third villain, the power broker, also wins because now she's got her CIA access, which apparently they don't do background checks in the CIA because they would have to look into how have you been making a living these past few years? Oh, living in Madripoor? What have you been doing in Madripoor? So I guess, you get your clearance badge and you're good. So yeah, but Sharon Carter, she's going to be the power broker moving forward. What do you guys think?
I don't want to wait another month and a half for the next show. It was nice. We went right from WandaVision to this. I thought it was a great series, and now what are we left with?
Well, there was a big announcement on the same day that this episode aired. They announced that Captain America 4 is officially in development. It's going to be Sam Wilson as Captain America. It's going to be a full feature film. So is that when we're going to see John Walker, U.S. Agent, Power Broker, all this stuff come back? I don't know. Is it going to be a new threat? We'll see. But that is a good thing to look forward to on the horizon. As far as Disney Plus is concerned, Loki in June is probably going to be our next thing. I mean, there will probably be a behind the scenes featurette on Falcon and the Winter Soldier that comes out next week. But other than that, yeah, we have to wait until June.
I'm sorry, we had a little in the kitchen right now. We're good.
So are you guys, what would you like to see in a Captain America 4 with Sam Wilson?
I'd like to see a jazz version of Star Spangled Man. I think that's what I would like to. Some rebooting of that theme. That would be nice if the series are setting up for a movie. Because then I think it's nice to have these self-contained episodes that are leading up to now a full 2.5 hour spectacle.
Well, yeah, I think it's been pretty much publicly said that the WandaVision ending is going to lead right up into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness
Which we
film.
saw from the end credits.
Yeah, so, you know, this leading into a Captain America film, it makes a lot of sense. But I've been enjoying these series too, that they have these moments, these quieter moments to build these characters and develop them a little bit more and give them some space that we don't usually see. Kendall, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean,
Cap 4, what would you like to see?
oh God, I don't even know what I want to see. I would like to see like Sam doing something as big as like Steve did. You know what I mean? Like Steve got to like fight Nazis with like hovercrafts and then like, you know, fight this organization who had like infiltrated the biggest spy like network in the world. And then like you got to see him fight half the Avengers. Like I something on that level. That's what I want from Sam.
Well, for me, you know, I want to see, like you said, Kendall, kind of Sam get his fair moment in the sun as Captain America. And, you know, whether or not they bring back Bucky or US Agent or Torres as Falcon, I just want to see, I want to see Sam spin on being Captain America, and you know, maybe you know, not only what that means for him as a black man in America, representing wearing the stars and stripes and representing the country, but also the differences that he can bring through his experience with the wings, throwing the shield around, all that stuff, and being able to take on a major Omega level threat, you know, to speak. And I also want to see him leading an Avengers team too. Like I hope we get an Avengers with him at the head.
Yeah, that more than a Captain America, I want to see him leading the Avengers. Because like the only Sam Wilson stuff I've read was like Captain America and the Avengers when he was Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I loved that. Yeah, it's just cool to see like people like looking up to him, like other, like his peers, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, Bucky had a lot of great moments where he's like looking, you know, proud of him, and he calls him Cap a couple times. He's like, "Nice job, Cap." You know, gives him kind of like the nod of approval. So
yeah, seal of approval.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's going to do it for Level Up Watches, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. For those of you who've been following along, thank you so much for letting us kind of talk your ear off about the Marvel Universe for a little bit every week. And, you know, whether or not we're going to come back and do a future one, I'm not sure yet, but I hope that you've enjoyed this series. And, you know,
when do the checks come in?
Well, I've got to check with the power broker on that one. She's in charge of issuing out the checks, so
she knows where to send it. That's fine.
Check. Yeah. So anything else before we go from you guys?
This was a lot of fun. I want to thank you. I want to thank my friends up at Level Up, and just waiting for you guys to call to take the inventory. That's all I got to say. But this was a lot of fun, Kendall. I enjoyed doing this with you as well. And I hope to see you guys for the next one, if you'll have me.
Yeah, it was a great time. Cool hanging every week.
Yeah.
For most weeks for me.
Well, thank you both for joining me on this adventure. You know, when I sent out the text of, you know, hey, do you guys want to do a podcast weekly about Falcon and the Winter Soldier? You're both like, yeah, no problem. So I appreciate that. I appreciate your gung-ho nature and, you know, ready to jump into this thing.
And just remember, who said it first? Oh.
We're just going to plug, I'm going to plug Level Up real quick. Again, shoplevelup.com. Level Up Entertainment is the name of the store. We're in Hamilton Mall in Mays Landing, New Jersey, as well as soon to be Summers Point, New Jersey. We'll hopefully be open anytime now. We'll be there, happy to sell you any Captain America, Winter Soldier, Baron Zemo, any of it. We'll have it. So please look out for the store there. Kendall, do you want to plug anything before we go?
You know me.
Star Save Your Money
on Instagram. Go there.
Marvelous Mike.
Meet me at the Minties, 10th anniversary, spectacular happening this summer. Until then, catch front row conversations every Sunday night. It's been the hit of the spring so far, about 300 views a week.
Nice. All right. Well, on behalf of Kendall and Marvelous Mike, I have been Harry, and it's been an honor to be your host. This is Level Up Watches, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and this is the end.